Guys, if you're loving my content, then do me a solid by smashing that subscribe button below. Hi guys, welcome back to another Guild Wars 2 World vs World Thief roaming video. Once again, I'm playing Daredevil using Dagger with Shortbow as my secondary. We've got a nice variety of fights in this one, so let's jump straight into the action. So we start things off against a Ranger. Rangers are generally one of my favorite matchups because as a thief I can usually stay close enough to deny a lot of their range pressure while constantly forcing them onto the defensive. So early on I use Dagger Stomp to reflect most of his attacks back at him, and that mostly does the trick. And yeah, so he manages to survive a little longer than I expected with a couple of well-timed blocks, but once those defensive skills are gone, the fight quickly swings in my favor. So after securing the down, I finish the stealth stomp and avoid taking any unnecessary damage. So now I spot another Ranger who's drifted quite a long way away from the rest of his team. Whenever I see isolated enemies like this, I'm usually happy to commit because there's much less chance of another player interfering with the fight. I close the distance quickly, and with this one, the fight doesn't last that long. Once I've secured the down, I don't need to use Shadowstep to complete the stomp, but I do use it afterwards to avoid some incoming damage. So next up we have another Ranger. So once I get into the melee range, so I keep the pressure on until I'm able to secure the down. So it is another clean down and finish the stomp without much difficulty. Before long, I find another Ranger. By this point, my health has dropped a little, so I don't want to stay committed for too long. I use Dagger Stomp to absorb a lot of the incoming pressure before disengaging briefly to reset the fight. Once my cooldowns are back and I see another opening, I re-engage with Cloak and Dagger before following up with the backstab to secure the down. At this point, I decide not to go for the stomp. My health is still fairly low, and if another enemy arrives while I'm locked into the animation, there's a good chance that I'll be punished. Sometimes it's better to leave the downed player and move straight on to the next fight. So next we have an Engineer. Engineers can be surprisingly dangerous because of the amount of area denial they have. Early on, he tries to keep me inside the AoE pressure and slowly weigh me down. Instead of standing still and trading damage, I keep moving until I find an opening. Once I get that opportunity, I commit to my burst and the Engineer goes down much faster than expected. The next engagement is against both a Mesmer and a Ranger. Straight away I decide to prioritize the Mesmer because they are generally the bigger threat. If I can remove the Mesmer quickly, dealing with the Ranger afterwards becomes much easier. I manage to secure the down, and as the Ranger starts trying to revive him, I switch over to my auto attacks instead of immediately using Cloak and Dagger. That allows me to put pressure on both players at the same time while interrupting the revive attempt. Once the Ranger has taken enough damage, I switch my full attention onto him and secure another quick down before moving on to the next engagement. Now I'm looking for another player who's separated from the rest of the enemy group. I spot a Druid Ranger quite a long way from his teammates, so I immediately decide to engage before anyone else can react. As soon as the fight starts, he realizes he's in trouble and begins retreating towards the gate. At this point, my objective is simply to stay on top of him and stop him from escaping. With a little help from the rest of my team, we're eventually able to catch him before he reaches safety. Next fight isn't really much of a fight. I come across an AFK player, and as a thief I'm definitely not going to ignore a free opportunity. It's a quick kill before moving straight back into the action. Now we are back against another Daredevil. Thief mirrors always require a little more patience because both players have similar mobility and burst potential. I focus on securing the down first rather than rushing the stomp. Thieves have plenty of ways to interrupt or avoid stomps, so forcing one too early often creates unnecessary risk. Since I play Thief myself, I know exactly how frustrating these matchups can be. So the next Ranger immediately starts trying to disengage. Unfortunately for him, escaping from a Thief is never easy. Once I commit, I can stay close enough to keep applying pressure without giving him much chance to recover. After securing the down, I leave the stomp for the rest of my teammates. Next, I'm quickly dealing with another AFK player before shifting my attention to a nearby Ranger. Using Cloak and Dagger allows me to stay hidden while deciding who I want to pressure next. As soon as I notice the Ranger already taking damage, I switch targets immediately and down him and get rid of him. So next up is a warrior who's attempting to capture objective. The biggest advantage here is the surprise burst. I catch him completely off guard and quickly down him before he can react. So next we have a guardian. So guardians are usually much more durable than most profession, so these fights can sometimes take longer. This one, however, turns out to be much less defensive than I anticipated and quickly ends. So the next fight takes place inside a camp. I pressure the Ranger while several of my teammates arrive to help. Once enough damage starts coming in from multiple directions, the outcome is pretty much decided. He tries to avoid his fate, but it's already sealed. It's just nothing he can do about it. So next I'm looking for an enemy to fight. So I spot a player who's a little too far away from the rest of his team, so I immediately take the opportunity to engage. I keep the pressure on, but another enemy arrives before I can finish the kill. Rather than overcommitting, I disengage and start looking for a better opportunity. As a thief, there is no reason to force a fight once the situation changes. I find another target who's already low on health and I quickly down him. Then I use Shadowstep to complete the stomp. Enemy players will often throw crowd control around a downed player to interrupt you, so Shadowstep lets me avoid most of that pressure, finish the stomp and then return back to the fight. It's a useful trick and something I use quite often in larger engagements. I'm still trying to stay in stealth here while looking for another good opportunity. Positioning is just as important as damage, so I'm careful not to overextend while choosing my next target. I get in stealth and then use the stealth ability that I've stolen from the Ranger to heal myself a little bit. Then I disengage and keep looking for a new opportunity. I spot a Mesmer who's already taken some damage, so I open with Cloak and Dagger to enter stealth and look for a clean burst. He manages to get away from the first engagement, so instead of chasing after him, I stay patient. With so much damage happening around the fight, another opportunity usually presents itself. And that is exactly what happens. While the rest of the team is busy with the champion, I engage the Mesmer, down him quickly and use my Dagger Storm to avoid most of the damage coming from the team. I spot another Guardian whom I try to take down, but he goes invulnerable and the rest of the enemies start damaging me. So I use Blinding Powder and heal up back again and disengage a little bit. As soon as my health starts going back up again, I go back and start scanning for another enemy. I immediately see a dead eye and engage him and manage to secure the down very quickly. By this point, the enemies are facing the rest of my team as well, so it's quite easy for me to deal with them. I think this final engagement is a good example of how Thief performs in larger fights. Although the profession is often associated with one-on-one duels, positioning and target selection become even more important when multiple players are involved. So that's going to be it for today's roaming video. I hope you enjoyed the fights and found some of the commentary useful. If you have any questions about the gameplay, the build, or any of the decisions I made throughout the video, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd be happy to discuss them with you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more Guild Wars 2 World vs. World roaming content. It really helps support the channel and motivates me to keep making these videos. You'll also find my build on screen if you like to give it a try yourself. It's designed to be a little more durable than typical glass cannon Thief while still dealing plenty of damage. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.